Olympics and the Asian Games as well, it is huge. And that hype has obviously come into India. You guys are making it a reality here. Talk to us about that side of things.
Yeah, well, so obviously when we started talking about X1 Racing, and it was all about the X1 Racing League, and then we wanted to find, that was obviously the pinnacle of what X1 Racing is all about.
Yeah.
But there was always that question mark in our minds, how would grassroots work? How would we reach out to more people to actually have access to motorsport? And then we thought to ourselves that there has to be a way that's not as expensive as what go-karting is today.
Yeah.
And we've seen in the past, and we continue to see, that esports is a great way to do it for a lot of young racing drivers. And funnily enough, when we were thinking about this, was pretty much the same time as the Race of Champions last year, where Sebastian Vettel was beaten by a Mexican gamer on an actual circuit in the Race of Champions. So, that's when we said, okay, we're going ahead with this. There's no two ways about it. And also what's great about esports is that we can go from city to city. So the idea is to go to all 6 franchise cities with our simulators, place them in colleges and malls, and actually give anyone and everyone the opportunity to participate and have the opportunity to perhaps one day be a racing driver.
It's that first taste, isn't it, of motorsport
It is
that
the
you can
first.
actually get now.
It's the first taste of motorsport. It's the touch and feel of X1. It's all in one.
Yeah.
And also it wouldn't be possible really without our partners to bring in this young talent of racing drivers in the country. And that being said, I'd like to introduce our title sponsor for X1 Racing Esports Season 1. Allow me to introduce on stage Mr. Tilan Pajak of OnePlus, the head of community for OnePlus. Welcome.
Fantastic. Big round of applause. Welcome OnePlus to the stage as well. They never do settle, and as we did with
come with me this way.
we love to unveil the logo of OnePlus with the Racing League as well. Join the gentleman on stage. Come on, thank you. Madam, have a seat. So now that we've got the entire bunch that are perhaps not just the brains trust, but the power behind the X1 Racing League and Esports League Season 1, it's time to unearth a few answers out of them as well. Actually, Hadi, I'm going to start with you because you've backed motorsport, as we said, for decades and decades now. You've seen the rise of these two young men. You've had Naren and Karun that you've backed in Formula 1. You've seen, karters come through the ranks as well. What was your ethos behind backing this league, and where do you think this can go, potentially?
First and foremost, thank you for inviting us. Thank you for being here for us at JK Tyre. And everyone knows it's been quite lonely at the top. We've been the only ones, it's been 30 years now. And for 25 years, I've been handling this whole operation. And these two kids, 8-year-olds, came to us as karters and went on to fly the Indian flags. And it's great to let you know that 90% of the kids, there are about 70, 80 every year, who've been kind of representing India abroad, have all come from our program. So this is how we go back in history. All these years, everything that was required to build up champions or to hone the skills of Indians has been done. And now, when I think these gentlemen, when they went abroad, they came out with these amazing ideas that why not get the competition into this country. And anything which is innovative, anything which helps us produce more Naren Karthikeyan and Arman Ibrahim and Adityas is a welcome thing. Yeah. And what better than this packaging? It's absolutely fantastic.
No, it really is. It absolutely is. Arman, I'm just going to come across to you now because you spoke a little bit about the format and the mixed format and the women that are involved as well. Just break that down a bit more and tell us a bit more about it, because obviously I think everyone's quite sort of intrigued by how that could work, how it is going to work, and obviously the involvement of women as well in the sport.
So to touch up on that point, as you know, there's no separate category for women in motorsport.
Yeah.
Once you wear the helmet, it's the same for everyone. To break it down, we have 6 franchises. We have 24 drivers with 12 cars. Usually when you watch a Formula 1 race, you watch them change tires. Here we swap drivers. And that adds an element of chaos, which is exciting for everyone as well. What it also does is, it makes the 2 drivers work together, and hopefully the franchise, it's the car that counts. What's more important is, motorsport has always been technologically driven, where it's always been and who has the best equipment. But for us, we've taken that and we've gone back to the basics on a central playing field.
Right.
So it is the drivers that matter. We want the talent to be on down. We want not only the experienced guy to be on top all the time, but the guy who's just won the national championship, or a girl who's just starting off but has raw talent to come out and shine. And that's what makes racing exciting as well. We're really excited to kick this off. We've got 2 great venues. Both the international circuit in New Delhi, which we start off on November 30th and the 1st of December. And then we straight away go down south to Chennai, the MMRT circuit, which is really old school and it's really great, and it's going to provide a lot of racing in both circuits. So yeah, we're super pumped, and I hope all you guys can join us at the end of November.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so end of November. I think you heard it first from Arman. That's when things kick off on circuit. Just going to pass the mic across to Dylan, because Dylan, we know the OnePlus is the fastest phone out there, and this is a fast-paced sport, which is the perfect combination in many ways. Just talk to us about the gaming community and OnePlus and how there's potential there, but how also now motorsport can be more access to gamers and for kids around the country too.
Yeah, I think, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I had a very, very good conversation with Aditya when we were reminiscing about how Formula 1 used to be much more interesting than it is right now. So it was good to remember all those things. But going back to OnePlus and how we actually integrate, I think there are more than one parallel by which we are, this collaboration is pretty good. And one of them being, it's we are all synonymous with speed, fast and smooth, in the phones, and that's where that technology part comes in the forefront. The second thing is that when we do talk with our community and we want to figure out what our community desires, what are their interests, we've discovered that gaming is close to number 1, if not number 1 in certain aspects. And we try to step into those various forays of gaming in esports. In Europe, we are partnering with Fnatic, hence we introduced from OnePlus 60 the Fnatic mode. Just to make things much easier for gamers, not to be disturbed, to have that smoothness by introducing 90 Hz displays while playing games, etc., etc. So with every single phone iteration, we try to cater certain things to gamers, technology-wise. Now moving to something that keeps this our brand really going, and that is that passion that the community has for us. And I think you always have to partner with people that have the same vision as you. So the point is always to keep that community engaged with you, via esports. And there's a lot of esports that we talked about that are maybe that are a bit more violent. Some esports that are more empowering. And we see as racing esports as a more empowering one, going to colleges, going through malls, giving someone.
Makes it accessible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just accessible, but it gives someone aspiration. Oh, I can actually become a driver potentially one day in that sport, right? Yeah. So it's a real implementation of empowerment. Yeah. And those people will, if then you elevate those people to that position, they'll remember both of those brands, right? Yeah. So that's how we think that this collaboration actually works.
Yeah, fantastic. And let's just continue that collaboration, because again, coming to you on the esports side of things, just break down the format. I know Arman did that for what's happening on track, but the esports format, how does it work? I know you mentioned going to cities as well. What exactly is going to occur in these cities with esports?
So well, basically the way we went about it in the beginning was we wanted to make it easy for us as well, not having to go to different colleges and malls every time and unload and load and set up.
Yeah.
So we built two very attractive looking containers,
Oh.
and we'll be showing you pictures of that at some point. And these two containers will be going from city to city, which is our 6 franchise-based cities. We can park them in colleges, we can park them in malls, but in malls, of course, we'll have a larger setup than that. The idea is to go to colleges and malls, let everybody and anybody participate. They can register online, they can come, take part, set the fastest lap time they can. And from Monday to Saturday, we've got the qualifiers, and on Saturday evening we call the top 20 qualifiers for Sunday's event. And Sunday is a proper esports racing event. So they're not there to set lap times anymore, they're actually racing against each other on Sunday. So each of the 6 cities goes through this qualifier format. At the end of each Sunday event, the top 3 qualifiers will represent that city, that franchise, in the grand finale, which will be at the Booth Circuit along with X1 Racing League. So that's basically how the format works.
Yeah.
And the ultimate winner of X1 Racing Esports wins a contract, and they will be trained under Arman and I
Wow.
to actually become a racing driver in the future.
That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. So it's literally, as Simon was saying earlier, it's a conversion from gamer to circuit.
Exactly that.
And obviously there's an aspiration of then seeing it on track at Booth and wanting to be a part of X1 itself.
Yeah, I mean, when you go sit on the circuit and races are going on in front of you and you're playing a video game, that's when you're going to say, I want to be in that car, not just behind the steering wheel.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Other thanks for those insights. I'm going to come back to you as well. But are we just coming to you on the numbers, because you're the business side of things as well, coming in from the corner there. Just talk to us about the money side of things. How much does it cost? What's gone into the league, and what's in it for the teams in that sense?
So we are back. We are venture backed. So we've got a good set of investors who are backing the venture. In terms of the league itself, we are running a very cost-effective model, and I think the gentleman that will come up next will vouch for that. And there's a long-term vision for it, and there's also, like Arman mentioned, we're not going the technology route, right? We are taking it back to the basics. So the cars are under our control. We can customize them. We're keeping it very effective to ensure that there is long-term sustainability, and focusing more on the product, which is both for live spectators at the racetracks and also for the TV audience. I think that's where the focus is. So we're able to sort of control costs across various functions of the league, be it in the esports or at the racing league. In terms of our investments into the league, we are investing over 25 crores every year on just the production and execution of it.
Wow.
And of course, we have fantastic team owners who are backing their teams as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Ravi, I'm going to say the last word for you, so I'll come to you in just a bit. But Arman, just coming back to you on the USP of this league, because you spoke of race formats, and it's very different to anything else that we've seen, isn't it, in the world of motorsport? How different is this, and is that what's going to be the driving USP of how exciting this could be?
Most definitely. Just going back to my point, and what Abhi also stressed on, where it's back to the basics in terms of what you're driving. So it's all about your core talent, and that is the USP of it. And then it's a unique formats that Aditya and we have come up with, where every race is a different format. So you're gonna be in a different starting position as a driver, and you're gonna have team strategy in terms of depending who the faster one is and who's stronger. And our whole setup basically for an audience is a whole carnival sort of a vibe. So it's a proper weekend that we want to create, and that is what will attract more people to come for the live format. And again, for TV, it's our formats that are going to work, that will engage the audience.
And Adit, coming back to you before I head across to Ravi, you guys have been through the system, as Hardy mentioned, part of many others that have come through it. Does this change things for, as you said, young gamers that are hopefully going to be racing drivers, but also for young racing drivers to think, hang on, this is an affordable way to actually start a career in motorsport? Because that's something, as all of us know within the motorsport community, something that's always been a challenge.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, you do have to go through karting at some point. We're not eliminating go-karting from here, but it's the first taste.
Yeah.
It's basically giving that kid a taste of something that could probably stick forever.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, go-karting is one, very expensive. two, not very accessible. So obviously we're eliminating the expenses and the accessibility by actually taking it to them. So I think that could be the real game changer in what we're doing.
Right.
And over the next 4 weeks, we'll definitely see how that works.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out as well. Ravi, just coming to you on the last word on this, because you've seen leagues grow from absolutely nothing to where they are today. You've been a part of a lot of sport, a lot of business across the world. Why is this league different? How is it different? And what excites you most about what could be over the next year?
Yeah, I'm actually feeling old today for the first time. It's a bit disappointing, but look, I think it's a good question, and I go back to what I said first. It's all about the construct, you know. One of the things, I mean, my job here, I sort of by analogy, is, you know, we've got the guys who are driving the business, you know, and, you know, Abhi, Aditya, and Arman are sort of the three pillars who are driving the three pillars, if you like. My role is more of the GPS, you know. I'm here to guide these guys, and we've had a lot of lively conversations from the time I've come in, and I think, you know, probably 8 out of 10 times they agree with me. But the whole thing is about construct,
right.
You know. I mean, it's all about foundation, and I think add to that a really great set of team owners, a really great set of investors. So I look at all the different pieces of the puzzle, and they've come together quite very nicely. I think, you know, it's all about foundation. I said to the guys when I came in, when you build a property, you must look at second and third year while you're building the first year. We have so many examples of things that have started and they're not here anymore. And I don't want to talk about them, but you all know them. You're on the media. So I think you've got to look forward. It's much better to control the controllables, make it a bit smaller in the first year, and then build. You know, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, but you know, you can build on a good foundation. And I think, you know, it's the fact that, look, it's not rocket science, but it is an art and a science, right? You know, I would say, you know, you can watch as many Bruce Lee movies as you want, but you don't know how to do karate. And I think at the end of the day, it's easy to look at things from the outside and try to do them. But I think these guys have taken 18 months to get here. They've learned from history. They've listened. They've brought in a bunch of people to advise them. They've got great sponsors also, which I think is great. I mean, I think, you know, Hardy I've known since I got to India, I think, 24 years ago. It's 24 years ago next week, actually. You know, he's sort of a name synonymous with motorsport. I think that's critical for this sort of thing. And he adds not just quantitative, but significant qualitative value. I think it was really great what you said, Tillen, about empowerment. I think that's a really important word for me as a father of a daughter. I think it's great that we are doing something that is equal opportunity. You know, in this part of my life, one of the things I want to focus on is how do I help women's sport in this country. And it's great that, you know, this has happened organically, but it's really exciting for me that I think for sure, you know, mark this date down, for sure we'll uncover at least 1 or 2 great women drivers, you know, or potential women drivers. I'm certain of that. And, you know, so I think the piece of the puzzle there, we've got to go and prove it, but I believe that these guys will. I think, you know, the last part of that puzzle is the media. You know, I think as